We're all done with authentication inside of our application, and we're now going to start to very quickly start to work on giving our users the ability to create a new stream by putting this form together right here. Now, as soon as we start talking about forms in Redux, we're going to begin covering a new library called Redux Form. Redux Form is a little bit notorious for being just a tiny bit challenging to understand, but the only reason that it is challenging to understand is that it's hard to understand what Redux Form is doing inside of your Redux store. Now, in order to make the process of learning Redux Form a lot easier, I'm going to tell you about a little extension that we're going to use to make debugging your Redux application a lot easier. If you install this little extension inside your browser and wired it up appropriately, it's going to allow you to take a look at the data inside of your Redux store very easily, which will make learning Redux Form really straightforward. So, I'm going to pull a link on the screen. Here it is right here. So I'm going to copy this link and open up a new browser tab and jump over to it. Okay, so when I say extension, I really do mean an extension. This is a Chrome extension right here. You can use this tool either with Chrome as an extension or also with Firefox as well. This is a browser extension that is going to allow you to very easily debug your Redux store. You can very easily understand that or what data is inside of it, and it also lets you do a couple of other interesting things very easily. Let's first figure out how to wire this tool up, and then I'll show you exactly how you can use it inside of your application. And we're going to also use it quite a bit when we start putting Redux Form together. So the installation directions for this are down inside the README of this GitHub repository. So I'll find the installation section right here. You'll see directions to install this for the Chrome browser or for Firefox. If you're using any other browser, unfortunately, there is no support for it. But I would still really encourage you to make use of Chrome or Firefox for the rest of this application that we're building, just because this tool is so incredibly useful. So to install this with Chrome or Firefox, you'll click on the appropriate link. So this will take you to the Chrome store or the Firefox store, where you can easily click a button up here on the top right-hand side to install it into your browser. Once it is installed, you're going to see a little kind of, I don't know, satellite or solar system icon up here on the toolbar up here. That's the Redux Tools icon right there. So once we get that thing installed, we then have to add a tiny bit of code to set up our application to hook in to these Redux DevTools. For that, we'll scroll down a little bit more, and we're going to find the section marked Advanced Store Setup right here. So essentially, all we have to add in is what you see in the green text. We're going to import a little helper from Redux called Compose, and we're also going to apply the middleware as well. We don't have any middleware right now, but we will eventually, so we're just going to wire up our application, assuming that we're going to have middleware at some point in time. Okay, so to wire this thing up, I'm going to go back over to my code editor and find my root index.js file. So inside of here, I'm going to find my Redux import, and I'm going to git apply middleware, and this little compose function as well. Then right above my store creation right here, I'm going to say const compose enhancers equals window dot underscore underscore. So that is 2 underscores right there. Make sure you have 2 as well. Redux dev tools extension compose, and then underscore underscore. I'll then put down a or statement or operator, and I'll say or compose. And then finally, on my create store call right here, I'm going to give myself a little bit of space by expanding the call, like so. I'll make sure I get a comma after reducers, and then as a second argument, I'll say compose enhancers, apply middleware, and I'll close off the call like that. Okay, so we do not yet have any middleware. We are going to eventually have Redux Thunk installed in this project, but we have not installed it just yet. Nonetheless, we can still call apply middleware right now and at least get ready for that call, or for Redux Thunk to be added. You can call apply middleware without any arguments, and you're not going to see any error message. So no issue with this whatsoever. Eventually, we will install Redux Thunk, and then we can just throw in Thunk like so, and that's pretty much it. All right, so I'm going to save this, and I'll flip back over to my browser, and we'll test out the Redux DevTools. All right, so I'm going to flip back over. I'll refresh the page, and then once I refresh the page, I should see that little icon for Redux DevTools up here kind of come alight. I should see some colors inside of it. So you'll notice it's slightly green, whereas it was kind of gray before. I can then click on this thing, and it's going to expand the DevTools menu right here. Now, something I really recommend you do is click on this kind of middle icon down on the bottom left-hand side. That's going to pop these DevTools out as a separate window, like so. All right, so let's take a look at this panel right here and get a better idea of what's going on. In general, there are two features that you're going to be using very frequently with these DevTools. First off, if you find this little selector right here of action, state, diff, and test, click on state, like so. When you click on that, that's going to show you the current state inside of your Redux store. So I see that I have my auth property coming from the auth reducer, and that has the isSignedIn flag and my user ID as well. So with this tool, I can very easily see all the data that is sitting inside of my Redux application. The other feature that you're probably going to use very frequently is the left panel over here. This is a list of all of the different actions that have been dispatched to your Redux store. Now, the thing that is really cool about this is that we can very easily kind of jump back in time. Let me show you what I mean. I'm going to come back over to my application, and I'm going to sign out and then sign back in really quickly. Okay, so now on the left-hand panel over here, I see three different actions. I see sign in, sign out, and sign in. These are the three different actions that I have now dispatched inside of my store. The first action right here was dispatched when I first booted up my application inside the browser. And then I see the sign out and sign in from me simply refreshing, or excuse me, signing out, like clicking sign out right there, and then signing back in as I did just 2 seconds ago. Now, the part that is so cool about this is that if you hover over, say, sign out right here, you'll see this button jump on the right-hand side. I can click on jump, and the state panel over here on the right-hand side is going to change to reflect the state inside of my store at that point in time. So when I had dispatched sign out, I now see the state that was inside my store when I had just dispatched sign out and processed that action by all my reducers. So using this tool, we can essentially jump around in the history of your application and get a better idea of exactly what happened at every point in time. Now you'll notice, if I do a little bit of rearranging here, when I click on these different actions or the jump button for each action, I'm not just changing the state that I see down here in this little pop-up window. I'm actually changing the state inside of my real Redux store. So if I jump back to, say, sign in right here, you'll notice that the UI changes to reflect the signed in status. But I can now go back to being signed out, and that button goes back to saying sign in, because now Redux thinks I'm no longer signed into the application. So as you might guess, this tool is an absolute amazing thing to use anytime that you are trying to debug a Redux application. There are even some more features that are even more useful than what we've spoken about so far, and I'll show you some of those other tools in a little bit. For right now, I want to show you one other thing that is kind of interesting. Personally, I think it's interesting anyways. Aside from New Browser tab, I'm going to navigate to Airbnb.com. Okay, so this is the Airbnb homepage. I'm going to flip back over to the DevTools over here, and then I'll find the drop down on the top right-hand side, and I'm going to select Airbnb. So at present, this might not be true by the time you watch this video, but at present, Airbnb has Redux DevTools hooked up to their Redux store as well, and it is publicly visible. So if you come over here to Airbnb.com, you can actually take a look at your Redux DevTools, and you can explore all of the different state that exists inside the Redux store that is created by Airbnb. Yes, Airbnb uses React and Redux internally. So just for learning's sake, you can take a look at all the different pieces of state that Airbnb uses, and it can give you a better idea of how you might want to structure your store or your state for a more complex application. Now, Airbnb is not the only site that does this. You can find many other sites online that expose Redux DevTools as well, and you can take a look at all the data that is stored inside and give you a better idea of how to structure your own application. Now, just so you know, if you ever seem to be kind of stuck with your DevTools looking at some other page or some other product, and you want to go back to looking at your Redux store, you can go back to the dropdown up here and change it back to React app. And now I see my auth piece of state again. Okay, so like I said, we're going to be using Redux DevTools quite a bit moving forward, and it's going to make learning the Redux form library a lot easier as well. So now that we understand how this works, we'll take a quick pause right here, and we'll start working with Redux form in the next video.